Excellent. Alrighty, let's get this moving. So, first of all, we have Mandy.
Oh. Is it 2 minutes? Kia ora, I'm Mandy MAYHEM and I want to be your mayor. I'm passionate about creating a vibrant city, welcoming and inclusive, accessible city where every resident feels valued and heard. I'll be an effective mayor because I'm a team leader with over 20 years background in governance roles. It takes strong cheering and a clear vision to bring out the best in a diverse group. I will deliver transparency, advocacy and grounded leadership. During my 9 years and as an elected member, I've honed my communication and engagement skills. I want to implement positive change for the future, focused on well-being and community resilience. My vision is simple: prioritise people, protect our unique wildlife and the planet, support our most vulnerable people to be safe and included, build more affordable housing and ensure those without a home get the services that they need. Continue to invest in infrastructure, ensuring basic services are reliable and resilient. Dunedin needs to tell its story. We are a city of great potential, a smart city incubating ideas and innovation where families and businesses can grow, a city of climate action and conscious, a creative city that thrives where culture flourishes and our communities feel proud and included. I can lead with experience and progressive energy that our city needs to achieve this. Diverse voices can shape civic life in new ways. I love to serve the people of Ōtepoti. Ka mihi nui. Vote Mandy, a mayor with flair. Oh, sorry.
Dancing around. And next we have Lync.
Woohoo!
Hello everyone, my name is Lync. I'm 29 years old. I'm the current president for Brain Injury New Zealand and the deputy chairperson for Dunedin Community House. For my introduction, I thought I would answer a recent question from social media. They asked, are you a profit over people leader? The answer is no. I spent the last 10 years leading in the non-profit sector where the goal isn't profit, it's serving the community. To pay the bills before I quit for this campaign, I worked in the public sector, first at the hospital and then ACC for the last 5 years. The room we're in today is the Dunedin Community House, where we house 23 vital non-profits under one roof to create a centralised hub of Dunedin social services. For the record, I abstain from decision making or anything to do with this event. I've also heard sitting councillors say that the first 3 years are a training period. I would argue that because of my background, I'll be ready to hit the ground running after month 3 or 6. Because of my background in the not-for-profit sector, I've had a crash course in finance, leadership, employment law and strategy. Just like the council, you need to make tough decisions about how to allocate scarce resources. Just like the council, it's about fighting for people, not fighting for profit. Just like the council, we follow strict principles and procedures like collective decision making and right of reply. My background in disability advocacy and community governance has informed the content of my campaign and rooted my message in the shared stories of our community's most vulnerable. I look forward to talking more about how we can help the community sector in my 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
And next we've got David.
Kia ora koutou and thank you for the chance to be here. I'm David MILNE. My personal philosophy is to ask questions, helpful questions, offer solutions and lead by example. When council and community groups pull together, Dunedin becomes stronger, fairer and more connected. Dunedin's for-purpose and community organisations are the heart of our city. You step in where government and council often can't, providing services, care and connection that hold our communities together. Every dollar you stretch, every volunteer hour you inspire, saves ratepayers and government many times over. As Mayor, I see the Council's role as a true partner, not just a funder. That means listening, cutting red tape, and making sure our processes help you, not hinder you. It also means providing certainty. Too often groups face short-term funding cycles that make it hard to plan. I would champion longer-term commitments, shared facilities, and affordable access to council spaces and resources. But collaboration goes beyond money. Council connect you with central government, with local businesses, with each other, helping to build partnerships that last. By working together, we can strengthen social well-being, ease costs of living pressures for families, which is really important for me, make Dunedin more resilient. Supporting community groups isn't just the right thing to do, it's smart. When you succeed, our whole city thrives. Ngā mihi nui.
And next we have Sophie.
Kia ora. This afternoon I'm asking you for the honour of your number one vote for Mayor. I spent 6 years getting under the hood of our car, learning all the mechanics and figuring out what needs fixing, honing my navigation skills, building relationships to power us forward. Now I'm ready to drive us to a better future for our city. My ability is recognised by voters and my colleagues. I was the highest rated in polling councillor last election. Since then, I've worked hard to fill my toolbox with the equipment needed to lead our city. We need someone who fights for our city, sensible, practical and visionary, embodying our city's values. I'm intent on making Dunedin the best place to live in New Zealand, a city that works for everyone. I'm a deliverer, devoted to action, not just words. A person committed to transparency, accountability and value for money rates. I'm driven by public service to our people, to you. I don't have all the answers, but together we do. Leadership isn't about talking over people, it's about listening. It's about understanding the challenges families, businesses and communities are facing every day. I've spent years sitting with people across Dunedin, hearing their frustrations, their hopes and their ideas. Those voices matter, they should shape the decisions we make, because real leadership starts with listening and ends with action. I have a very simple goal: to make Dunedin the best place to live in New Zealand, a city that works for everyone. That means everyone in our city lives their best lives and has access to infrastructure and services that makes their lives better. Not only the basics like water and roads, but important services like libraries, pools, playgrounds, events and community support. I'm dedicated to making our city shine brighter. I'll treasure your vote and work hard for you.
And Carmen.
Ko Carmen HOULAHAN Takawinwa. I'm a second term councillor. I'm an open, honest and fair person, and I'm a second term councillor as far as I'm a chair of customer and regulatory. And with these serviced offices like you've got here, I actually used to work in one like this in Christchurch. And so I know all about it. I used to have an office and we had someone, I don't know whether you still have your receptionist here, but I found it to be brilliant in that it was a really good collaborative cluster. Like a lot of us worked together and were able to do things. At that time I was working as a sales educator for a French skincare company, and part of my job was to go to Europe and visit day spas, which was a very nice job. When I first came out of school, actually, I went trained to be a beauty therapist of all things. And when I came back from my reasonably regular trips to Europe, I got asked to write up about those trips, and as a result of that, I got an interest in writing and became a journalist. Being a journalist has helped me ask hard questions and push for transparency around the council table. I also have a master's in business entrepreneurship. I understand what it's like to be starting out in a startup and to just be out there in the community doing things. So I'm Carmen HOULAHAN. I'd love your vote for Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Lync.
He's not here.
Lee. Thank you.
My name is VANDERVIS, and I've been your City Councillor now for 18 years. In the last 3 years, I've also been the Chair of Finance and Council-controlled organisations. The distinction that was made earlier about not-for-profit, I think is a good one. To define a group as not for something doesn't actually tell you what it's for. So I think that that's been a positive move. I also think including the word purpose in your label, if you like, is very important as well, because most of us, I think, spend a lot of our time rushing around doing things that we need to do without really considering what our purpose is. In terms of charities, I don't believe that the DCC is in a position where it can justify funding charities directly. We have a grants organisation that can do that, but we have not just the charities to consider, but 130,000 people living in Dunedin, many of whom are living pretty close to the breadline. And the anecdotal stories I get of fixed income people not being able to heat their flat in the winter makes me give pause to thinking we can dish out their money to specific groups. That's my lot.
Make it 20 seconds.
So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. I would also like to mention that I have some understanding of how difficult it is for charities to raise money. We have a 21-year-old severely autistic son, and we've been involved in fundraising for Autism New Zealand and various others for some years now. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Zenith?
Kia ora all, my name is Ruthven Alamarak. I'm a 200-year-old vampire, and I stand here because I feel desperate. I have seen fires affect so many of our communities, the cost of living, the climate crisis, the rise of the far right, yet it feels like so much of local government is hitting snooze on a fire alarm. So I felt compelled to stand before you here to try and do something. I mean, whilst I believe the most important issues facing us are the climate crisis and the rising rate of renting and the state of our houses, there are so many issues affecting so many people. So often our poorest people, which so often fall along the lines of those that are queer, those that are indigenous, and those that are disabled. I mean, we have a city that is famous for houses that are cold enough to shake the dead, full with more mold than a rotting log, and yet somehow are some of the most expensive to rent city in the entire nation. That is an emergency. That is a crisis that demands action, which is why I'm so committed to supporting for-purpose places like this, to doing whatever we can to help them. But I also understand that I am just one person with a limited perspective. I cannot give uniquely perfect answers to every situation. So I am committed to coming to you on a person-by-person basis, and I'm committed to forming a citizens' assembly, a democratic system whereby people around the community are brought together, given expert advice, expert testimony, and directly take hold of the reins of democracy to decide decisions. A form of democracy that has been proven to work in countries of the world over. So at a bottom line, I believe in an empathy-first approach to governing the city and supporting its many systems, that we must always, every turn, value the people and hear their cries as they are suffering through whatever the hell the state we are living in now. Thank you.
Jules.
Kia ora tātou. Ko Jules RADICH tōku ingoa. So I'm Jules RADICH and I'm the mayor, and I'd like you to help me continue in that role. I'm a successful businessman with hands-on skills and an Otago science degree. And my key purpose in council has been to make Dunedin everyone's favourite place. So our favourite place. And it certainly is mine, but I'd like it to be university true. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. And my purpose in life has been to influence achievement in others. So I have spent actually my whole life, or my whole working life, helping other people achieve their goals. For me, the big issues for Dunedin at the beginning of this triennium was infrastructure. And I promised at that time practical plans for transport, waste, water and debt. And as a result, George Street is still drivable, the one-way system is saved, roundabouts flow and parking is largely preserved. Investment in water infrastructure has doubled, and South Dunedin will finally get flood protection and a library. A new landfill is consented and recycling facilities under construction. Our budget is balanced. Council debt will flatten in 5 years. Power lines, waste and water are all ours. So there's many things. We've also developed heritage, stadium, events and live music action plans to work through. So I think it would be helpful to have me as Mayor to ensure the implementation of the practical plans that we have put in place. The main issue now is our demographic deficit and the resulting low per capita income of Dunedin. That's the really big issue facing us now. So I have lots of thoughts on that. But here we go, that's my 2 minutes.
You got another 20 seconds.
Oh, 20 seconds. I have to know what those what the bells are for. So I think that the starting point for our pathway to future prosperity lies in the new gold that we produce at our educational institutes. We need to retain more of the brains we train. So I have a practical plan to achieve it, but I need your help to stay in the Mayoralty, because I believe smart growth will bring real results for our city. Here we go. I'm not about hot air, I get things done. So I'd like your help to keep doing them. Now me, you do it.
Right, just to be clear, at 1 minute the bell will be rung. At a minute and a half, the bell will be rung, and then continuously at 2 minutes. Excellent. Sweet. Right, next up we have Mickey.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you very much to the organisers for inviting me and putting on this event. Thank you very much to the other candidates. I appreciate there's a lot of time and a lot of effort goes into this whole thing, and thank you to our sitting councillors especially. And thank you all very much for coming along and giving me your time. Ko Miki TREADWELL tōku ingoa. I'm running for Mayor and Council on a Green Party ticket. A big part of what the council does is building resilience for the city, and a lot that we hear about that is in terms of infrastructure, the water, the housing, the power, things of this nature. But the community is just as important, if not more, a part of our resilience. However, a lot of the work that for-purpose groups do isn't easily captured on a ledger. When the Valley Project, for example, puts on a workshop about how people can keep their houses warm over winter, there's no follow-up on that. There's no measurement of the health outcomes. There's no measurement of the power saved. So there needs to be a certain amount of trust. Currently, the model with the DCC, which has its merits, is very much, there's applications for grants and grants funding for many of our for-purpose groups, which is a convoluted process, and funding is handed out, and there's not a lot of back and forth. Now, in 2022, there was a survey done by Community Builders Dunedin, and two of the big outcomes of that were that community groups really wanted relationship building, and they wanted more trust. And that's what we need to see more of between the DCC and its for-purpose groups. So it should be more of a two-way relationship whereby the council is going out to meet community groups where they're at, to build that relationship in addition to the financial support these groups should be receiving. I really want to strengthen the bond between the council and these community groups and reduce the division. We don't need a siloed Dunedin City Council. It should be in its own way a for-purpose group. Vote Mickey for DCC and Mayor. Ka mihi, thank you very much.
Next up, Andrew.
Kia ora katoa, my name's Andrew Sims. I'm running for Mayor and Council of the DCC. I'm a father, the chair of the Mosugatari Community Board and a business person. Now more than ever, Dunedin needs strong leadership and fierce advocacy to realise our potential to become a successful small city. We need new faces, new ideas, new energy and new vampires around the council table to drive a better future for Dunedin. My immediate priorities are better fiscal decisions driving lower rates and lower debt, ending unsheltered homelessness in Dunedin, no more excuses for that, Dunedin is still small enough to care about every single person who lives here. Fearless advocacy to central government on regional development, the hospital and the Polytechnic. Restoring your trust in council with open and transparent governance. Ending the expenditure of $92.4 million on the Smooth Hill landfill when cheaper and safer options exist. That one project will incur $7 million in interest and depreciation every year from this year onwards, from the year it's built onwards. I'd ask you what you could do in your sector with $7 million a year. Adopting an immediate engineering solution to split the catchment and protect South Dunedin from flooding. Most importantly, bringing all of the sectors of Dunedin together and re-establishing our regional leadership role. I'd like to thank you for all that you do in the community, and I'll speak more about that later. Thank you. Kia ora.
Marie.
Ki te mana whenua o tēnei rohe, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, e ka mana, e ka reo, e ka hau e whā, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, ko Marie LAUFISO ahau. I just acknowledge the mana whenua of this beautiful rohe, their ancestral territory, and I acknowledge the presence of all the voices, all the leadership present, as well as all of us from the Four Winds. Ka mihi nui ki a koutou. Organisers, thank you for the mahi of organising this forum. Mā lo whawhitai mo le awa noa, thank you for the opportunity, for the invitation. I also would like to briefly acknowledge the passing this year of two staunch wahine toa and kuia and leaders in their communities and in our city outright, Joe Miller and Eleanor Doig, who both threatened to have a hikoi on the octagon if we did not do certain things in terms of the South Dunedin Library and the community. And I also want to acknowledge today is the 24th anniversary of so-called 9/11 and just the incredible multi-generational damage that's been caused in terms of the way we move and the way that we're all now surveilled in this world. As I've said in other fora, locally, nationally and globally, our energy-hungry growth of economies continue to deplete the environment's finite resources. The COVID-19 lockdowns provided us with an opportunity to reset and consider our urgent need for ecological economics. Having served as chair of the Community Services Committee, the Grants Subcommittee, Dunedin Former Refugee Steering Group and Social Wellbeing Advisory Group, I've learned that if enough of us respond to our whānau in deep crisis, humanity can shine as we rise to the challenges, and we must all shine now.
Next we've got Benedict. Not here. Lianna.
Hello, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming, giving us your time. Thank you for the organisers for putting this event on as well. It's all very much appreciated. My name is Lianna MACFARLANE, running for Dunedin Council. I'm born and bred in Dunedin, living in beautiful Brighton. Life is busy with my special 13-year-old daughter, my elderly mother, dogs and horses to care for. However, I've been compelled to run for council as a mayoral candidacy for councillor and the Saddle Hill Community Board, as I believe enough is enough. Dunedin is special. It deserves to be returned to its former successful financial life that we had in the too distant past. Accountability, transparency and financial responsibility will be essential for everyone moving forward. I have an extensive background as a financial planner, strategist, analyst in Dunedin and London, and I have an independent voice and a very strong backbone. Observing the current council these last 3 years, I can see enough is enough. The last month, I have attended many public meetings, about 12, I've listened and I've learned from the community and the candidates. Too often communities are being sidelined. Brighton community, Surrey Street, South Dunedin flooding, Irvine Road community, the disability community, to name just a few. Though we need to manage our financials carefully, I do believe that everybody needs equitable access to community funding. So we have to strike a balance between fiscal responsibility and supporting our communities. Community must come before profit wherever possible. 50 million going on cycleways when too many of our vulnerable communities went unattended. To me, that's not acceptable, and I don't want to see it in the future. So that's just a little bit of me. Thank you for your time, and we'll be talking again shortly, no doubt.
Pamela.
Hello. First of all, I want to thank you for the absolute privilege of getting the honour to speak in front of you today. It's such a privilege that you're willing to listen. Now, I come here as a desperate single mother of 3. I've been homeless in Dunedin. I've been to the food banks in Dunedin. I've saddled as a debt slave for 100k worth of debts through the family court because they're opposed to me having the right to the safety of my body and to refuse an injection. Now, as a mother of 3 children, my top priority is making sure that this city is suitable to raise a family in. I want the city to be a city that families can live in houses, eat food and have the heater on. My top priority is to keep the rates down. I have got a $7,000 rate bill. It goes onto my mortgage, it causes default, and then I get interest added at 5%. These rates are to pay for all sorts of stuff that I think is absolutely worthless. Now, as a mum, I want to be able to live in a house and not have the council's getting debt increased by $1 million per week just to pay the interest only on its debt. I don't want them to spend $95 million or make it $150 million by the new looks of it for Smooth Hill when nobody wants that dump there. We could actually use the landfill things at Timaru, and there's also another one that's been offered to us, and it'll be a fraction of the cost. Now, I don't want us to be spending $100 million on carbon zero cycleway budgets when we've been homeless in the streets. When we're going to food banks for food, we don't want $100 million on cycleways. So we can cut the $150 million expected for food Smooth Hill. We can cut the $100 million for carbon zero cycleways. We can cut 250 jobs, saving $27 million a year on wages, because there's actually 17 people inside the Dunedin City Council on over $300,000 a year wages. One person's on $260,000 and they haven't even attended work in a year. So we also can cut $35 million for Kettle Park and $15 million for the Edgar Centre new roof. It's time to start caring about the families, making sure they have a roof over their head and they're not homeless, making sure they have food in their bellies. It's time to stop saddling the next generation with debt that there's no way for us to pay.
Thank you very much. Now, I have been looking on social media at different things, and one of the things is all about the STV system. Now, at home, I've got these beautiful sheep. They're called Vallis Blacknose. They're very, very gorgeous. So they're not alpacas or anything else. But what I thought I'd talk about is let's compare maybe fruits or veggies. So if you look at the people in front of you here today and you're thinking, right, I want to vote for every single one of them because I like them all, and that's fantastic. But if you look at the people here in front of you today and you go, well, actually, 5 of them are really good, but the other lot aren't, then you only need to vote for the banana, the orange, the pear, the apricot, and the apple. All right? And give the best one to the apple, obviously, and then start reducing it down from there until you're happy that you've voted for the ones that you want to represent us. You don't need to list them all in order from number 1 to number 16 if you don't like some of them, all right? So that's just my 50 cents worth. And next up, we've got the questions. So, I'm thinking bells, because it could be 2 minutes and it could be 3 minutes, right? So in my head, while you guys have been talking, obviously I've been listening, but I've also been thinking about the allocation of bells. So let's go for a minute and a half. You'll hear the little ringle. And then at 2.5 minutes, you'll hear it. And then it'll be continuous at 3. All right? So let's go with that. We are going to keep it to the same order that you were before. If you've forgotten the question, just look backwards. That's up on the wall there. And so first of all, we're going to start off in the same order. We've got Mandy first.
Thank you so much. The for-purpose sector of Dunedin is a crucial part of our city's fabric, working to create a more just, inclusive and livable future for all of its inhabitants. This relationship needs strengthening. I support all organisations that missions extend beyond financial gain, aiming to create positive social or cultural change. I sit on the grants subcommittee and we fund place-based groups and other wonderful community initiatives focused on improving community services, well-being, our cultural storytelling and the local environment. We have the Dunedin Central City Plan, and the plan emphasises the importance of various stakeholders working together and suggesting a need that we foster partnerships that benefit the city's overall vibrancy and attractiveness. In my first campaign, I campaigned on the well-beings in light of all of the reforms that the government has thrown at us. I think that the well-beings is the thing that we should be focusing on as a council, although the government has given us a different directive. The fit-for-purpose sector directly supports cultural and community well-being outcomes, and these are vital for the city's long-term health. I believe art is human, and one of the things that gives people a sense of belonging and well-being in the city is their involvement in arts and culture. Thank you. I will champion initiatives that support community-led projects and contribute to a thriving, inclusive and sustainable city by addressing our local needs and enhancing livability in partnership with the Dunedin City Council. I'd like to see in the grants review that we increase our funding to all of our community groups. I'd like to see us working, like I say, to strengthen those partnerships to make the city more livable and to really focus on uplifting our vulnerable people and community well-being. Thank you so much. Ka mihi nui. I was remembering it.
Thank you very much. Right now, the not-for-profit sector is in big trouble. Grant funders are awarding smaller amounts of money to a smaller number of non-profits. That means that services are being cut, staff are having their hours reduced or are being let go. I argue that every dollar invested delivers massive social value for the city. That every dollar invested strengthens the social fabric of our city, and that every dollar invested strengthens the well-being of the city. There's an estimated 5,000 non-profits in Dunedin, largely powered by volunteers who contribute around 5 million volunteer hours each year. At the living wage, that's $140 million worth of work that underpins our city's well-being. And the Dunedin City Council is a main contributor to this effort, and their support now is more important than ever. On all of my billboards, flyers and posters, it's printed real community investment. The policy behind that slogan is to increase the contestable funding for community groups. I was at a candidate meeting the other night and you were asked to stand based on your various views, and they had like A, B, C and D. And one of the questions they had was, would you do anything about homelessness? I stood for C, which was I'd love to help but not enough resources. Upon reflection and research, the Dunedin Night Shelter is a recipient of DCC funding, and I'm sure there are other various non-profits that receive DCC funding that directly contribute to reducing homelessness. So I have to correct my answer there. I do want to increase funding, and I'll work with all councillors to increase contestable funding. It's not going to be easy, and I know that we've got some budget issues. The council needs to look at using AI and technology to drive down costs and find non-rates revenue to balance the books better. But this is one area where our help is needed more than ever before. And every dollar invested delivers massive social value. Every dollar invested strengthens the social fabric of our city, and where every dollar invested strengthens the well-being of our community. My vision for a fully funded City Council aims to continue building on the excellent work the City Council already does in supporting our not-for-profit sector, and I'm ready to work with all councillors to secure increased funding.
David.
Thanks, everyone. Go, Angela. Hey, she's not wrong. It's Angela, isn't it?
I'm
Pamela, sorry. I was thinking Pam Anderson, so there was to be
That's
the
what I was
Angela.
named after. My
Pamela.
name's Marilyn, after Marilyn.
You go, girl. You go, girl. So you've had the word sellers. You are people of action, right? And I can offer you broad brushstrokes of concepts, but action is really my wheelhouse, okay? So first thing would be I would donate 50,000 pre-tax of my salary to the general fund, and put it to a good cause of the non-profit, so to speak. I've lived a life of purpose, not made money my God. Okay, I love money, but it's not my God. If I'm like some of the other mayoral candidates, if they're very well heeled, why aren't they donating their salary? Okay. Beyond that, we need more fruit trees around Dunedin, because that would help lower the cost of food for people. We all know the supermarket bills have gone up, right? That's one thing. Big shout out to the bowling club with reducing the cost of going out for a meal. That's amazing. I would like to stretch that to supermarket. Have a Dunedin City Council food co-op that cuts the supermarket out of the loop, okay? I'm already doing this with buying bulk from Auckland, flour, rice, oil, soy sauce, Silver Fern Farms export orders that don't get away on time. And we feed that out to our email group, and we all pay a lot less for food. So that is one thing I would like to see a food co-op happen for the people of Dunedin. Show that you're a resident and you get the good deals. And if you're from out of town, you pay a bit more. Also, it's now possible to take plastic waste that's dirty, any kind of plastic, put it through a machine. Shout out to Nature Jab. Solar panels, microwave. You get 110 octane fuel. Okay, I would like to collaborate with the university and the DCC to make this extremely low cost fuel. Just go on Instagram, type in Nature Jab. The lovely young 21-year-old amazing guy in America in the Midwest, he is doing it. It's not maybe, it's actually, he's producing the fuel. You put the dirty plastic in because it's made from petroleum, right? And you get petroleum out with a super low cost of production. So that's the kind of technology kind of mayor I am. I've got a lot of ideas like that. Reducing food, housing, energy. Okay, my work with opensourceecology.org, go and check it out. They are making the eco-seed homes, so that's a great way. And we could employ a similar kind of housing mechanisms, the tools to build the house and the type of house. It's really reducing costs for people. And there's also the guys, New Zealand entrepreneurs who have got Zuru toys, they're billionaires. They bought Malibu property, they're building houses in China, they're putting them on Malibu property for super low prices. So look out for that, plus a lot of other ideas, okay? Action, not word salad, okay? Thanks. Sophie.
First of all, I want to tell you a snippet of my vision, as it shows how everything ties together as it must to make us stronger together. My vision is Dunedin is New Zealand's best city, a city that works for everyone, where people live fulfilled lives in a connected city that's safe and accessible for all, where our standard of living is enhanced by a treasured environment, a prosperous city with meaningful jobs and strong communities. There are many pieces in our jigsaw to make us the best place to live. The for-purpose community sector is hugely important as the glue that binds us all together. It's not frilly and it's essential. Without community services and partnerships, we literally fall apart. That's why we see the rise in homelessness and the increase in mental health issues playing out in our streets. I know it's challenging out there. We've seen the funding pool shrink, the government mucking around with contracts, and the pressures on coordinators and volunteers. I've seen the stress you're all under. I've talked with many of you, and I've heard your frustrations and how many extra unpaid hours you're doing to try to cope. Thank you. Council's role is as a leader in our city. We've 6 key roles: partner, funder, advocate, facilitator, regulator and provider. A quick glimpse to some ideas. Partner. First, I want us to get our social wellbeing strategy right. It's from 2013 and that's a world away from now. I want us all in a room sharing the key issues and solutions and come up with a proper actionable plan. If we don't have a strategic way forward, we're just mucking around, putting band-aids on things when we should be concentrating on stopping the wounds. Funder. I've been on the grants subcommittee for 6 years. I see how challenging that is. The pots of money need to be sorted so the funds are targeted for the most useful impacts. It needs to be easier to apply for, administer and decide. We need to do multi-year funding so organisations have certainty. Advocate. We need to fight hard for our city to get the services we need. Like our hospital, with the right number of beds and services, we need to understand your issues and push back to government. Facilitator. We must bring people together and ensure we've got forums to share issues and get action, e.g. homelessness with our housing plan. Regulator. We need to ensure we've got the right bylaws and regulations in place to assist, e.g. alcohol bylaws and public safety. Provider. Council has our community services team, our libraries, parks and facilities that make our community stronger. E.g. last year I organised for the showers to be open for the homeless at the Oval. I also want to acknowledge the hard work of your under-acknowledged sector with starting mayoral awards for community service to thank and celebrate your work and to raise awareness within the city. Thanks for all you do. Kia kaha.
Carmen.
Kia ora koutou katoa. Thank you for that. Yes, I agree actually with a lot that Sophie mentioned there, and I think one of the big roles as a council we can play, and that some people argue we shouldn't, but I think we can be a really strong advocate, and we've proved that with the hospital. We haven't got a hospital yet, but we've certainly tried this year. We've had a really strong campaign, and I think something that's here that's really important is that you've got a great cluster, and I'm going to talk about that later, but all of you coming together in offices in a shared area, there's a real ability for you to have a collaborative cluster here, and you probably already do. But what I also think is your connection and your communication and engagement with council. You obviously have a councillor involved in Community House, which is great, which is Councillor Wiley. But as far as, I think, regular communication between your group, the Community House and us, as far as what are some issues you see coming up. And for example, we submit regularly and make submissions to the government. If there's a change in law or some sort of submission coming up, is there something that's going to directly impact on your people? And one thing I can think of is the disability services. There's a whole lot of changes being made in that have had a huge impact. And I know previously you used to have, and you probably still do have, is the disability services people in Community House. The other one is budget advice that was directly affected by government changes. Things like that have an impact on community organisations. I want to talk about our place-based funding and our grants. We have some councillors that would be quite keen to wipe out that funding. I don't support that. I actually think grants, and especially for the arts with the grants, but for community organisations and our place-based funding is our real grassroots organisations that do huge amounts of work in our community. So I do support that, and I think we need to maintain that support. Some will try to get rid of it, and some people in the public on social media, they'll say whatever they like, but they will say it's a waste of money, and I disagree. If there was an emergency, which let's hope there isn't, but the reality is we have to prepare for the worst and be ready. Organisations like yourselves that have numerous different community groups together are going to be the people that we come to, that we have to rely on to help others in emergencies. That's the same as our community. We've got to think of it, what it is. We have, community councils. They're not community councils, for the life of me, I've forgotten the name of them. Thank you, community boards, thank you. Good grief, mind blank. Community boards as well. But the place-based funding groups in different areas also play a role. So, thank you very much. But yeah, I would love to see more work around a collaborative cluster in these groups like yourselves, working together and perhaps bringing you, we can be a connector as a council, I'm getting off, but bringing together the business and the university and the Polytech as well for support in that area. Thank you.
Lynn hasn't come in by any chance? No? Lee.
I've been on the City Council now for so long that I can remember a time when all the grants were awarded for projects only, and they were all run by volunteers. There was very little bureaucracy. There was very little in the way of facilitators or managers or other people being paid to run these projects. I commend Councillor Wiley for very strongly pushing for the continued and increased number of volunteers to run projects. If you have projects where a great deal of the funding disappears in paperwork, then you lose an incredible amount of potential value. And I've been critical of our community boards because they have become progressively more bureaucratic as time has gone on. And the $10,000 budgets that we supply for them to actually do projects, it's probably more than that, just to simply run the convoluted bureaucracy that is now around the community board members themselves. I think we need a model change. I think we need to get back to a situation where all the administration and the managing and the facilitating is actually done by volunteers. If it's done by volunteers, I think you'll find there'll be a lot less of it. If you look historically at the growth of bureaucracy, it grows progressively during peacetime. And we've had an extended period now of peacetime, to the extent that bureaucracy is now at a much higher level than at any time in history. Historically, it has usually taken a war to shed the bureaucracy, get back to basics, do what is real and needs to be done. And I don't want to see a wartime situation have to arise, or a collapse of our financial situation to arise, before we recognise that what resources we have need to go into projects and not into paying a whole lot of people to decide who's going to manage the volunteers. So my proposal is that the grants committee stays pretty much as it is, but that we get the grants back to paying for projects only rather than managers. Thank you.
Next we've got Zenith. Now if I can just ask, when someone is talking up the front here, if everyone, including the fellow candidates, just remain quiet as well, and just respect the person who is talking up the front there. That'd be great, thank you. Zenith.
So, as I have said, the DCC needs an empathy-first approach that understands that its goal is to improve the lives of as many people in Ōtepoti as possible. And to speak to my own personal experience with the wonderful work that so many for-purpose communities do, I would like to talk about the first time I went to a pride parade. It was due to my age, it was a wee bit ago, a few decades, and the sense of community I felt there, the sense of warmth that overtook me as I was amongst my people, is something I could not put into words. If I went to argue to a community board or council about why we need to fund a pride parade, and I could not put into a spreadsheet why that felt so powerful to me. And yet this is so much what the work is being done by for-purpose groups. It is the knowledge that there are people out there that there support you. It is the power of a kind face and a warm handshake, and just the acknowledgement that another human is seeing your struggle and says, yes, you matter, I care about you. To talk about practically what I think could be done here. First of all, I think we need to audit vacant DCC-owned properties to see which ones can be used for community spaces and other groups. I think, secondly, we need to update the social well-being strategy. As I think it was said by Sophie, wasn't been updated in 2013. And we need to see what areas need the most resources and support. And third of all, I think we need to increase the funding allocated to social initiatives, health-related services, and disability support services that aren't directly funded by Te Whatu Ora or MSD. And first of all, formally, I think what we need is a genuine openness to engage with for-purpose workers and these communities. It's very good and well to say, oh, we'll talk to you here, talk to you there, but I think there needs to be genuine power given over to these people. How that can be done with the bureaucracy as it stands, I don't know, but it needs to be understood that it's the labor of people that work in for-purpose groups. It is volunteers, it is paid workers, it is people that understand that human life has an innate value no matter who you are, that so much of the struggle can be prevented, can be avoided, and that so often the most hardest challenges fall on those that have so little left to give. And so I do not have the answer to what every for-purpose group needs. I do not know exactly how the budget will work out. I can't predict the future if we have another pandemic or other catastrophic economic crisis. But what I can give you is an acknowledgement that the laboring class, the laboring people, the for-purpose groups matter, the people they look after matter, and the innate human dignity and right of every person matters. And I will continue to campaign for that empathy no matter what. Thank you.
Jules.
Thank you. The largest for-purpose group represented in this room is the Dunedin City Council. And the issue with that group is that we do not make a profit. We have increasing debt, and we haven't yet struck the sustainable balance between services, income, rates, and debt. Now, the key thing that we have done for the other for-purpose groups in the city is maintain the grants funding where it is. But of course, we're in a cost of living crisis, so our rates and our debt is under a lot of pressure, and a good deal of that pressure has been applied by the government, in particular with water reforms. So councils throughout the country are required to bring their water services up to a certain standard, and that has meant very large rates rises right through the country. And that has meant large rates rises in Dunedin. For all of that, we are still about a midpoint in the rates rises last year and this year, and we're still below average for the rates for Dunedin City compared to all other councils in New Zealand. So we're working hard to strike that balance, and the good news that is that in the future, as we go forward, the rates rises will decrease and get down to a more palatable level. Some people though, 90% of the people I talk to would like to have no rates rises, which is unfeasible because there's always cost of living index, and there's also interest rates because we have a large debt, and we've also got infrastructure to catch up on, and people always like things to improve. And if you have give it 2.5% for each of those four things, you get to an unpalatable number. And so, but 90% of people that come and submit to us for long-term plans and annual plans all want more. They all want more spent on their things. And then 90% of the people you talk to in the street, oh, the cost of living and the rates rise. So that's a very difficult balance to strike. We have kept the grants, and the key thing that we spend those community grants on, half goes to the museum, roughly 13 million, half to the museum, and then the other half is distributed to a whole range of groups for all manner of reasons. And so we're putting a good amount of money into the community. Some of it goes on housing. We also, in addition to that, maintain our own community houses, nearly 1,000 of those. And we did look hard at community housing in terms of Aaron Lodge, but that fell through because Aaron Lodge has been sold now, and that's always been playing Aura's intention to sell it, and the government was not interested in funding emergency housing there. They want to get rid of that in terms of, not emergency housing, but motel emergency housing. However, there are a couple of plans in the background that I've been working on, and there's plenty of other things that we put grants into, such as sports events and the stadium. Thank you.
Mickey. Kia ora. I apologise on behalf of the group, and I'm not excluding myself from this, but we're not that good at sticking to the questions, so please bear with us. We appreciate your patience very much. So what we were asked to answer here is what are the specific actionable things that we want to commit to for helping for-purpose groups, financial or otherwise. One of the really good things about the contestable grants that the DCC gives out is there's actually very little bureaucracy involved that soaks up funding. The grants are applied for, distributed by the DCC, and there's like minimal reporting. Financially, we should be increasing those, that bucket of contestable grant funding. As Jules pointed out, it has stayed the same, but this is during a period of high inflation, so it's faced an effective cut. And because we're in an economically constrained environment, it's a really, really good place to put money. Even by the council's own assessment, the money that goes towards for-purpose groups has a disproportionate outcome in terms of both well-being for the city and economic factors. So when we're talking about resilience, spending our money wisely to try and be sort of economically sensible, putting more money into our for-purpose groups is a good way to do that. Now, I was talking a little bit about the accessibility for these for these contestable grants in my intro speech. There is a little bit of an issue there where the larger community groups have a little bit of advantage in receiving those contestable grants because they have people with experience and sometimes facilities for filling out these quite convoluted applications. This is where I think we could follow a model which Tū Taonga trialled out post-COVID. It's an arts funding model called Te Urongi, which is where they actually went out to where people were in the community with a small body of staff and helped them go through the applications, found out what they really wanted to achieve, and started the granting relationship there. And that's more of a back and forth relationship, part of building that trust. As I think it was Zenith pointed out earlier, multi-year funding is something that the DCC really needs to look into, but that requires a little bit more forethought. Finally, something which was proposed in 2016, and I think Councillor Marie was involved in this, along with David Benson-Pope, is having a community navigator role for the council. This would be somebody who goes around and helps facilitate some of these community groups and gets feedback to the council, so we can see where there's gaps in the community and get information that might help the council with its own practices. That's not my final bell, is it?
No.
Awesome. No, I'll just leave it there. Specific answers to the question. Schedule.
Andrew.
The Dunedin City Council must take a greater role in financially and structurally supporting the city's for-purpose sector. There are a great many things that the DCC could do which would involve effort but not a great deal of cost to the ratepayers. I am absolutely determined that Dunedin will be held up one day as an international example of a city that eliminated homelessness. Over the next week you will see announcements from me with three very specific initiatives in this space which may surprise some people. The Mayor has a unique platform of being able to make the phone calls and convene a meeting between the Council, government agencies, members of Parliament and social agencies. I was encouraged to hear the Principal Housing Policy Advisor for the DCC say recently that there is enough money in the system to make a real difference, but the response needs to be coordinated. The person to do that is the Mayor. Too often, those people helping those on the lowest rung of our ladder are only on the third rung themselves, and that is not good enough. I'll quote from Mark Baxter today. So I was described by Mark Baxter today in his Lefties Voting Guide as centre-right fiscally with a strong social conscience. From Mark, I'll wear that with pride. As chair of the Mosgiotari Community Board, I've seen the utter reliance of the community on volunteers and for-purpose organisations. You have my complete respect. I have also seen firsthand how far your organisations can stretch money in delivering community projects in stark contrast to council and government delivery. You must be supported by the council with a real understanding that the for-purpose sector will deliver far more for the same dollar. Kia ora.
Worry.
As Councillor Steve Walker said the other night on Sunday at the first of the two Overhaul Church candidate forums, social, cultural and environmental well-beings are not nice to haves. The other quote that I want to mention here is Mātua Tākuta Te Mana Nui a Kiwa Jackson, Moana Jackson said, "Treaties were made to be honoured, not settled." So to me, therefore, always keeping at the forefront the principle that what's good for Māori is good for everyone is key. And DCC's role must be to increase investment in the for-purpose and public good sector. So the next mayor, in my opinion, should lead 14 governors, it all comes down to the vote, who ensure that staff have adequate resourcing to do their jobs. There have been 3 examples in the recent past. Mr. Sims mentioned one in terms of the Housing Action Plan, I think Mandy did too, that we only have 1 FTE, 1 staff member to implement our Housing Action Plan. Community Partnerships team last year was responsible for housing Mana Whenua elder who was affected by the floods. There was no money to pay his accommodation expenses. Example 3, treaty partnership staff have had to readjust their program because there hasn't been adequate resourcing from the governors. We need to increase grants from 2.76% annually to 5%, in my opinion. We need to restore $30,000 annually that's been taken away from the Place-Based Groups Fund, and we need to increase funding to the Dunedin Youth Council and community boards. Thank you.
Benedict.
Thank you. I will say that I'm Benedict ONG, but firstly I will say that everything that we do connects together, and when it comes to the for-purpose community, when it comes to addressing homelessness, that is something that comes together with our economy, and it comes in with the investments we want to bring into our economy. It comes in when we have investors coming in for philanthropy. It comes in when we bring businesses to look at our economy, and we want that private investment to be put to work, both in terms of providing the philanthropy that can be put in place, and also there is, for me as a former global investment manager, there is what is around the world as impact investing. If we want to make more affordable housing available, there is a private sector type of solution that comes in. And I like the concept of a social enterprise. We know we have social enterprises around our community, and that works by having the ability to have the finances for that. That comes in that the main objective is not to make a profit, but we don't want to make a loss. And by having that financially viable to provide the for-purpose services, to provide the housing access there, if it is viable, then we can create more jobs, and that ensures it's sustainable. That ensures it's sustainable for our community, and we can do more in the long term with that. So I always say everything connects together. We need to have our council taking a proactive approach to seeing how we can take this on. It comes across in the same way as our university. It comes across in the same way as tourism. It comes across in many ways, and it all connects together to me.
Lianna.
I'll keep mine a little bit shorter than everybody else because at the end of the day, I would be completely new to all of this. However, what I can say is in terms of the DCC's role in financially supporting the community groups, as I alluded to earlier, the role is one of balance. The council is in a difficult cash flow position. No question about it. Going from 70 million loss, cash flow loss, up to 140 million cash flow loss within 4 years, there is a real cash flow situation. So any spending needs to be managed very carefully. However, communities within Dunedin do need to be considered. Funding partnerships wherever possible would be great. My community, Brighton, are currently putting together a community project, a pump track, where they are just getting out there, raising the money. And I think if communities can in some way raise the money and then the council can meet that 50-50, that would be great. But spending does need to be managed very carefully. As with all community, it needs to be done in an equitable and prioritised manner, with as much long-term planning as possible, because I imagine in the community it is hard to plan long-term. There's probably all manner of short-term issues going on because you just don't have that certainty. So if there's any sort of long-term planning that can be put into place to help with that, that would be great. In general, my thoughts are community should come before profit. We need to work together. Those communication lines need to be open. Strategies need to be formulated between council and the different community groups. We need to work together to achieve what we want for our communities and for the council combined. Thank you.
Pamela.
As I mentioned before, vote for Pamela Taylor as Mayor to keep the rates down because affordability matters. So how do we keep the rates down? Smarter spending, fixing basics first, and partnering with central government for the private sector. Now, how do we fix the community sector? So as I've experienced the homelessness thing, so we need to actually get cars to every single homeless person straight away. Imagine being homeless in the tent, or you only got your bicycle, or you got your shopping trolley, and that's all you've got. Without a car, you've got nowhere safe to sleep, you've got nowhere to lock your doors to keep your property safe, so you've got no security of your property, no security of your personhood, no protection against the elements, you've got no means to drive to the food bank, you've got no means to collect food to feed yourself, you've got no safety of your personhood and no means to get to the social services. So we need to make sure that every single homeless person has an access to a car straight away and give them driving lessons so they can drive, so that we can get them into some sort of safe, secure place that they can protect their personhood. We also need to think about the fact that they go to the libraries so that they can charge up their devices. So we need to have an electronic plug on the outside of the building so they can have access to communication outside of the building after hours. I've been outside on my devices using the internet from the bank, from the library, from the outside of it. So they need to have internet access so that they can access services. They need to have internet access so that they can actually find out information to be able to find their next place to sleep for that night. Because they need to each have a phone, because you can't get wins without a phone. And you also need to have an address. So they all need to be given a fake address so they can start getting wins. So the thing is that we actually need to start realising that there is holes in this system and we're not looking after the vulnerable. We have the council people going around putting tickets on all the unregistered, unwarranted cars of all the homeless people, and then the police running around bashing the homeless people and stealing their cars off them so that they have to sleep under a bush. So we actually need to start caring about the people who live in this city. We've been neglecting them, we've been abusing them, and we've been treating them like crap. And the rate rises is making more and more people homeless by making them default on their mortgages and also having Rating Act foreclosures on their homes. So we need to keep the rates down, stop wasting the money. We need to fund the food banks because that has people crying as they're receiving the food because they're just so thrilled that they get to feed their children and to feed their families. We need to stop the crap about car-free society. Imagine being homeless without a car. So let's start protecting the vulnerable. We can start getting them into houses as fast as we can, and we can start looking after the food bank. They need shelter, they need safety, and they need food.
Thank you very much. Now, we've got some rapid fire questions. 1 minute for each question. And what I'll do is I'll be nice enough and I'll leave the question up here for you so you can see it while you are talking up here. So first of all, we've got Mandy, and your question is, if you could be any kind of dinosaur, what would you be?
A whole minute to talk dinosaurs. I'm torn. Is it a stegosaurus? Is it a triceratops? Would I be a pterodactyl? Or raptor? No, what are the little tiny ones? Yeah, raptors. I think I'd have to go for a dinosaur that eats plants and leaves. But maybe it would be great to fly like an eagle, so I'll go pterodactyl.
Well done, thank you. Next question we've got for Lync, which is a little bit more serious. If you are mayor and have the casting vote on a decision, what would you consider before submitting your vote?
Good question. Don't know if I have an answer off the bat. I'll probably, I guess, as the casting vote, you'd have to go. That's it. At that point, would be.
Speaking to the mic.
At that point, the casting vote, I suppose, would be based on your opinion, the view as the chairperson.
Speak a bit louder. The mic can't hear you.
Is that working?
Yes.
Right
there.
So yeah, like, I don't know. That'd be my answer. Would just be, unfortunately, you've got to split the vote. So I guess it would be at the mayor's discretion.
Thank you. Next up, we've got David. How would you create a harmonious council? Tongue twister.
Serious answer or?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, harmonious council. Magic mushrooms in the tea at lunchtime. And then that'd sort everything out, okay? Big appreciation to that. No, but I mean, I can be serious. I'm a serious guy. The debt's a serious thing, and there's no problem with that. But, we can all have a little bit of a Jerry Seinfeld moment. It's okay. It's okay to have a laugh. Harmonious. No, well, if I can keep talking, the council, harmonious, I would say if there's anybody who's being negative, shut that down straight away. Lead with love, okay, because at the end of the day, that's really the most important thing is love. And I'm sure that you can all agree. Having people been through challenging situations, okay, that's what it comes back to. No nonsense. I lead from behind, so I let the best people do their work and try and employ people smarter than me. The real alpha male is at the back of the pack, strongest at the front, weakest in the middle.
Next up, we have got Sophie. As mayor, what would be your plan to address social challenges and improve well-being across the city?
I think I kind of covered that in my address. So I look at a strategic level, which is that we have to get our strategy and get our plans together, and then we have to make sure that we execute it. So I think I gave a number of examples earlier, and I know it's getting late and you've got many more questions, so thank you.
Carmen, how do you build and lead a team with people you don't particularly like or respect?
Well, you get on council. No, I mean, in any work environment or anywhere that's going to be challenges, we're working around the table with people who are representatives of different groups. And so that is democracy. And of course, at times we disagree on things. We actually regularly disagree on things. And it doesn't mean that we're a dysfunctional council. What it means is that we have democracy around the table. Personally, for myself, I've voted with the left and the right bloc. I have quite a wide-ranging view of votes that I've made across the last 3 years. And I think that's because it's reflective of our city and what the city needs at the time. Some things we might not need, you know. And I think for me, I've just tried to build relationships with people that I've worked with around the table, because that's the only way we're going to get things done. If we can't do that, and if we can't work together, we're not going to get the votes through. So in any situation you're in, no matter what work you're in, even if you don't like the people, I'm not saying I don't like them, but is you still have to work together proactively, and in our case, for the city.
Lync, if elected mayor, how would you help get central government to recommit to completing the cancelled housing rebuild in Albertson Ave, Port Chalmers?
As mayor, the importance of social housing is something that I would communicate to individual MPs on a person-to-person basis. I would make the argument that both Wellington and Auckland actually sold all their social housing because they didn't want the responsibility of it and they couldn't bear the maintenance. And point out that Dunedin has maintained its social housing and expanded it, and has, when it was supposed to be a break-even kind of situation where rents would cover maintenance, has even gone to the extent of now subsidising that social housing by $1 million a year. And it's because we're not really getting the government support that we deserve. So I would make an equity argument to our decision makers in Wellington. I wouldn't bother going to LG and Z, and point out that we are doing more than most, and that they need to come to the party on Albertson Ave.
Zenith, what do you want your legacy as mayor to be?
Ooh, all right. Well, like I said, someone that puts empathy first. As I said, I don't know what challenges Dunedin will be facing or Ōtepoti will be facing in the coming years, but I want to be considered someone that put people first and someone that was genuinely listened. I truly believe it, that when establishing citizen democracy, Citizens' Assembly was used in Ireland to decide whether or not abortion should be legalized. Thank God it was. And I believe systems like that put power into the hands of the people, that show a genuine commitment to putting people first, have a powerful, powerful effect on people's trust in government. I also believe my legacy to be someone that genuinely fights. I have a history in physical fighting. I fought in the Civil War against Confederates, but I also more powerfully have a history in social fighting. I part of protest groups and activism and grassroots initiatives that understand that if someone doesn't want to give something, if something's making someone a lot of money, they will not give it up easily, which is what I do not hear a lot of when the council is talking about fighting for the hospital. Thank you.
Jules. How many community organisations, social arts, environmental, etc. have you visited proactively, and what's your understanding of the contribution the third sector makes to the city? What's the DCC's role in ensuring their work is sustainable?
Well, I mean, it's a huge number. So over the course of the last 3 years, I've visited a great many community organisations, and I'm very well aware of the contribution and fully appreciate the contribution they make to the city. Now, gosh, I couldn't list the number. I mean, it would fill up the sheet of paper at that at this point size. But there, we do fund. We do have grants funding, and my key thing, my point that I make, and that I omitted to say before, is we've got to put our own oxygen mask on first. We have to be in a position of financial sustainability to be able to fund the organisation, and so does the city. So that's why, and my main focus was getting infrastructure sorted, and everything is resolved in infrastructure. We just have to implement all the plans, and now we have to work to increase the per capita income of the city, and I have a plan for that. And so from that, we will be continuing to push our grants out to the community, but looking to them to work proactively, cooperatively, collaboratively with them to have sustainable plans, and be looking to help make that happen for all of the organisations that we supply grants to. But I've certainly visited a great many, and probably 5 or 6 in the last week.
Thank you. Mickey. How much do your own political party learnings impact your views that would be carried through into the role as mayor?
That is a good question. Well, I mean, the reason that I'm running on a political party ticket is that I believe it's honest. I don't think there's anybody here who isn't, aligned in some way with a particular political party, and it tells you all what my sort of core values are. So, in terms of kaupapa, I really do staunchly believe about the environment, and that we should be upholding te tiriti and non-violence and responsible decision-making, which are the 4 pole of the Green Party. It doesn't really get more specific than that. The thing about central government parties is that their purview doesn't extend to the decisions that local body makes. So people often say, oh, if you're affiliated with a political party, you'll just be running the party line. Well, no, most political parties don't make policies about the kinds of things that local government does. So it doesn't, I am part of a political party because I have shared views that that political party espouses, but it doesn't carry over into the kind of policies that I'd want to implement. Thank you.
Just look at the name first, Andrew. What's your understanding of the difference about the role of the mayor compared to the role of a councillor?
The mayor has a vital role in leading the council, and the mayor is conferred with 2 very important powers. One is complete control over the budget of Dunedin City, and the second is complete control over the annual plan. They are his documents, or her documents, and they are developed by the council, but it's the mayor's responsibility to deliver those, and that is vital. The mayor also has the ability to appoint chairs of committees, and has quite a little bit more power than most people understand about setting the framework for the council that is there. So I think that's a vital role. I think that can have a vital impact on your sector, and I think that's a very important consideration when you're choosing who you'd like to be the next mayor. Thank you.
Maureen. How will you ensure that DCC exercises proactive allyship to the LGBTQIA+ communities, especially as we are seeing global pushback against these communities and their human rights?
Kia ora,
to me, this speaks to the social well-being strategy, and we could. I know that the former refugees communities are looking at our Dunedin social well-being strategy and developing in alignment with that an implementation plan. So this could also the LGBTQIA plus communities could be welcomed to develop their implementation plan, and as a commitment to the city's commitment to the social well-being of those communities. And we could do far more to train and resource elected members as to the issues confronting those communities.
Benedict? How would you put your own opinions and beliefs aside to support and enable the democratic process? Can you give an example of when you've done this effectively and or professionally?
I am a former international banker and I've covered dozens of countries around the world. In the sense of covering many countries, I would say that that is about being a diplomat, and it's about understanding different needs and serving across different markets, different countries. The first off, I would say, is that what we need is to be able to serve across our community, and that is by having the finances to do that. And we think about how we can optimize things in terms of spend, but there's also the part about growing. And how do we grow our finances? How do we grow council finances? It is by using what we have, and we have a lot of great things. We have this community house. We have our stadium. We have our airport. We have our university. We have a very special city, and we have everything that we need in place. We don't need to reinvent things just yet. We need to be able to say, we have a very, it's a great city. That's why I've come back to Dunedin after a whole lifetime away. And if we can grow what we need, we have everything here. It's about council sitting next to the things that we have and saying, this is our responsibility. We're going to take charge. And we're going to ensure that the finances are there to be able to do that. And that's by growing. That's by growing our economy.
Lianna. They walk up here scared to see what the question is. Funding sources for community organisations are becoming fewer and more hotly contested. Not-for-profits operating in the health arena are finding it particularly difficult to attract funding. What are your views on the council's role in advocating for more funding from the central health budget for these essential services?
Great question. I do have a bit of a pet project in that my background also extends more recently into mental health. And I have helped a number of people deal with suicide recovery, grieving suicide situations, and I am horrified at how that sector particularly has been getting less and less funding. So what are my views? I think the council absolutely could have a role in advocating for more funding for those specific basic healthcare needs. As I say, mental health is a particular area that I'm very concerned about. New Zealand has one of the highest suicide rates, and it is getting less and less attention and less funding. So that needs to be sorted out, and the council could do something along those lines, as could the communities as well. Again, I would go back to a partnership-based situation, trying to work together to help that particular cause.
Pamela. A leader is only as good as his or her team. So if elected, what skill set, values and qualities do you want to see in the councillors around the table to best accomplish your vision for a better Dunedin?
The 9-year plan has a planned thing of increasing the debt from 1.4 billion to 2.3 billion, so that increases the interest-only rates from about 1 million per week to over 2 million a week. Now, the most important thing to have in a team is some financial common sense. You don't care about people if you're making them debt slaves. You don't care about people if you're throwing them out of their houses to make them homeless because of the rates. Now, the best thing is to focus on the core, most essential thing for human survival. So we need to make sure that on Surrey Street we don't have the sewage pumping out into the houses, costing the people $50,000 to repair the houses whenever it's a heavy rain. We also need to make sure that the drinking water doesn't have fluoride in it, because we need an intelligent voting base that has not had their brains damaged by a neurotoxin. We need to make sure that we keep the rates as low as we can so that the businesses can thrive, and the cost of living is driven up by the rates. When they increase the rates, the cost of living increases, because every business has to pay more and more to survive, and every house owner has to pay more rent or more mortgage and more rates to be able to survive. So the cost of living is directly linked to the spending of the council, and the best way to keep the cost of living down is to stop wasting money.
Thank you, Pamela. Right. Now, I know you guys are all very busy individuals, so I've quickly gone through a couple of the list here to make it a little bit faster and easier for us all. So, the first one, if you don't feel comfortable answering it, then that's absolutely fine. But the question is, what national political party do you vote for? Be brave and ask, because it gives us an indication of your political analysis and worldviews, as opposed to answering specific questions that can mislead us where you actually stand. So what we'll do is we'll just start off with Jules, and we'll go across, and then we'll go down the line that way. So if comfortable, that'd be great.
So in terms of the next election, it's too early to tell. I've traditionally been a swing voter my whole life, and I've voted for most of the political parties. Last time I voted National, the previous time I voted Labour. And various parties before that, including Greens, Social Credit, a whole range of them. So it's too early to tell who I'll vote for next year.
I voted New Zealand First last time, Labour before then, but kind of regretted it, really.
New Zealand First or Labour you regretted?
I've voted for National in the past. I've also voted for the Destiny Church Vision 1 because I didn't like the COVID-19 policies.
Thank you. So last election, I come from a family of Labour voters that go right back to about 2 or 3, 4 generations. Growing up in South Dunedin does it. But last election I voted National, and I normally am a Labour voter, but I didn't like the centralisation that had nothing to do with the Māori issues. It was to do with centralising everything and the impact that was having on our politec and on organisations like that. Thank you.
Just the National Political Party, please. Right.
New Zealand First. So everyone else has kind of put their 2 cents in, so I grew up in a conservative family, and
next.
Likewise, I would say it's a bit too early for me. I've voted New Zealand First last time. I've also voted Labour as well. I've also voted Greens in the past, but I've been sorely disappointed. So it's too early to say.
I'm running as independent, but I last voted New Zealand First.
I come from Waititi, home of the birthplace of the Values Party. I traditionally vote Green, but I think Te Pāti Māori aligns most strongly with my views these days.
Kia ora, I used to ruin my voting papers and didn't start voting properly until Te Pāti Māori was founded, and then I voted for Mana. And then I voted for Greens, and now it's probably Te Pāti Māori.
I've voted all my life for Labor, except twice I voted for National, and I regretted it both times.
It was a toss-up between the party Maori and Greens, and then I saw that Greens had a stance on supporting queer rights, so I picked Greens last election.
Greens, yep, but also shout out to Party Maori, a great party to vote for as well. Yep.
I'm a former international banker and I have returned to New Zealand last year. I do recognise we have very good investment policies that are coming into our country. The investment is coming into our country and I want to bring that to Dunedin first.
Which political party would you vote for?
And I am getting quite cliched. I am resolved to be able to be one of the 15, but I will start my own political party called Dunedin First. Dunedin First political party. If I'm not able to serve, you know.
Rightio. Next one is a stand up or sit down. So stand up, it should be fairly easy for everyone to do, if you will increase the number of the disabled parking spaces in Dunedin City.
I sit on the parking hearings.
Everyone bar two. Excellent, thank you. Right.
We have increased, we have put a lot in.
That's all right, it's if you would
People don't
do it.
park on it.
Right.
People don't
Right,
park on
next.
them,
Yeah, hold on a minute. Next question is, and it's a stand up or sit down. So stand up if you're willing to intervene in the Kiora planned sale of a long standing social housing land in Albertson or Chalmers.
There's a picnic on Sunday if you want to come along. I forget what time it is, Marie. Midday, I think, on Sunday.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. Right. I'm sure this should be an easy one. Do you value NGOs in the mental health sector? Stand up if you do.
Non-governmental organisations.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Rightio. Last of all, thank you very much for your time. Try to look after yourselves. I know you'll be very, very busy individuals. Don't do what I did in 2017 and fell asleep standing up and ended up going to hospital. So just make sure you relax every now and then and don't run yourself too tight. All right? Thank you very much for your time. Very much appreciated. All that you guys are doing is awesome for the city. You're standing up for what you want to do and how to make the city better. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you.